Hey guys, this is the Revolutionary Male. My name is Alex. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to read an excerpt from one of my favorite books, a book entitled Loving Men, Respecting Women, The Future of Gender Politics. I'm going to read a section from that book about Tiger Woods and his marriage with his original wife, whose name I don't know off the top of my head. And it's about the circumstances surrounding the incident when he got caught engaging in extramarital affairs with other women. But it's going to be written about or addressed from a male perspective. Okay? So let's get into it. Tiger Woods, The Endless Grovel. The following is taken from a transcript of the speech delivered by Tiger Woods and broadcast globally February 19, 2010. Please note that I do not approve of adultery. At the outset, for the sake of this argument, I ask the reader to set aside views and feelings on Tiger Woods' guilt or innocence and simply bear witness to an extensively edited down, yet nevertheless endless grovel. He quotes Tiger Woods' speech here. I want to say to each of you, simply and directly, I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in. I know people want to find out how I could be so selfish and so foolish. People want to know how I could have done these things to my wife, Ellen. Or Elin. It's E-L-I-N. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. Ellen and I have started the process of discussing the damage caused by my behavior. As she pointed out to me, my real apology to her will not come in the form of words. It will come from my behavior over time. I am also aware of the pain my behavior has caused to those of you in this room. I have let you down. I have let down my fans. For many of you, especially my friends, my behavior has been a personal disappointment. For all that I have done, I am so sorry. I have a lot to atone for. Some people have speculated that Ellen somehow hurt or attacked me on Thanksgiving night. It angers me that people would fabricate a story like that. She never hit me that night or any other night. Ellen has shown enormous grace and poise throughout this ordeal. Ellen deserves praise, not blame. The issue involved here was my repeated irresponsible behavior. I was unfaithful. I had affairs. I cheated. What I did is not acceptable, and I am the only person to blame. I stopped living by the core values that I was taught to believe in. I felt that I had worked hard my entire life and deserved to enjoy all the temptations around me. I felt I was entitled. Thanks to money and fame, I didn't have to go too far to find them. I was wrong. I was foolish. I don't get to play by different rules. The same boundaries that apply to everyone apply to me. I brought this shame on myself. I hurt my wife, my kids, my mother, my wife's family, my friends, my foundation, and kids all around the world who admired me. It's not what you achieve in life that matters, it is what you overcome. Achievements on the golf course are only part of setting an example. Character and decency are what really count. Parents used to point to me as a role model for their kids. I owe all of those families a special apology. I want to say to them that I am truly sorry. I recognize I have brought this on myself, and I know, above all, I am the one who needs to change. I owe it to my family to become a better person. I owe it to those closest to me to become a better man. I have a lot of work to do, and I intend to dedicate myself to doing it. Starting tomorrow, I will leave for more treatment and more therapy. I need to regain my balance and be centered so I can save the things that are most important to me, my marriage and my children. I do plan to return to golf one day. I just don't know when that day will be. I ask you to find room in your hearts to one day believe in me again. Thank you. And now this is the author, Tim Goldich, responding, expressing how that speech made him feel. To express my gut reactions to the above, I'll present the speech as I, wearing my masculist hat, heard it. This, infused as it is with sarcasm, is my emotional, angry take on the essence of what I heard Tiger Woods broadcast to the world. And this is what he's written. This is what he felt. I want to stand here tonight before the entire world and abjectly apologize over and over and over again for being male. I feel the need to express nothing other than endless, mealy-mouthed groveling to atone for my maleness. My fault, my grievous male fault. I, the male, am absolutely wrong. She, the female, is absolutely right. I don't deserve to breathe the same air as my better half. Rumor has it that she, the female, was in some way complicit, responsible, or flawed. But I take full responsibility. I was dirt. I was trash. She is only to be worshipped as a perfected being, and I am only to be reviled as loathsome. As part of the intensive therapy to fix my maleness, I'll be castrated, after which I know I'll be a much better person. Everything I achieved within the world of men is trivial. All that matters lies within the world of women. Perhaps if I grovel abjectly enough, I'll regain access to the only world that matters. Thank you. Why was I so angry? While watching, I felt myself and my kind attacked and condemned by yet another dose of man bad, woman good, woman right, man wrong assumptions that have reached truly prejudicial levels. Everywhere I turn, it's flatter the female, shame the male. I just can't stand it anymore. Suicide is already the 7th leading cause of death among men. How much more shamed are men supposed to be? If lustfulness is akin to sinfulness, what is the reflected verdict on men and masculinity? Perhaps the most galling aspect of all of this is the degree to which Woods' acquiescence to female perspective while owning no part of his own male perspective. In witnessing one of masculinity's finest, brought so low as to practically crawl upon his belly while flagellating himself, I believe many men had an emotional reaction not altogether dissimilar to mine. If even Tiger Woods can be brought so low for fear of losing the tenuous connection to his children under his wife's ownership, what chance would I have? I use these essays to vent emotion, my own and what I imagine to be the emotions of other men. In the big picture, it all balances out between men and women, but there remains one rage-worthy aspect of gender that does not balance out, and that is the profoundly one-sided belief system. So let's present the speech once again, this time infused with the male point of view missing from the real speech. Is Woods so irredeemable as to be bereft of a valid perspective? I'm in no position to judge Tiger Woods the man. I have never met him. I don't claim to know what the truth is. Supported by various media quotes, see the notes section, with tongue in cheek, here is my fantasy of what Tiger Woods might have said had he stood as resolutely within his male perspective as a feminist stands resolutely within her female perspective. And so here it is. I learned early on that success was the key to gaining equality with the women that I desire most. In my youth, I garnered little female attention. I could no more attract the women I've recently had affairs with than I could fly through the air. Even now, if I came to their door delivering a pizza, I wouldn't rate a second glance. The truth is, the power of female beauty scares me to death. So, while you were all out living life, I spent my youth hitting golf balls, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, at considerable sacrifice to all other aspects of my life. I managed to rise up the success hierarchy and gain success appeal enough to even the playing field with beautiful women. Sex, wow, I went crazy. I was like a kid in a candy store, but I'd become a super golfer, not a superman. To all the men who so piously judge me, here's what's true. It's easy to stay faithful when the women you want most are hard to get. But when women who make you ache with lust are all over you, and I'm not talking about some ambiguous flirting that may or may not be real, may or may not pan out. I'm talking about insanely gorgeous women clearly giving themselves to you. You would cave just as I did. Those women are not powerless, victimized children in need of protection. They are powerful adults in need of accountability. They pursued me with full knowledge of my marital status. In their eroticism, they applied an enormous force of influence. And for their time, they were well compensated. I was so overawed by my future wife, so nervous about asking her out, that I had a friend do it for me. Though she was only a small-time model, a clerk in a clothing store, and a nanny, her status as self-assured beauty was so powerful that even in possession of extraordinary fame and fortune, I still didn't really feel equal to her. Indeed, for a year, she rejected my advances as I stood in line behind any number of men all gaga over her. I owe her nothing for the success I had already achieved before we ever met. Being neither naive nor foolish, she knew when she married me, a world-class success object, that fidelity was not to be among the expected rewards. I have, however, secured for her and for her children a future guaranteed of vast wealth and status. Through me, she has gained access to the social environments of the world's most famous elite. That's why she married me, with the likes of Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, and Bill Gates in attendance. And that's what I delivered. How can her take in the marriage bargain be regarded inadequate? Additionally, I've showered her and our children with love and kindness. For giving so little, she has received so much. I see no monumental basis for her complaining and playing the victim. Am I a sex addict? I'm a male heterosexual. Like other men, I'm torn by a profound ambivalence. I'm as steeped in the sentiments of loyalty and monogamy as anyone, and I experience sex with resplendent women as the single most exquisite ecstasy this earthly reality has to offer. I'm vulnerable to women who freely offer what I crave. There's good and bad about everything. The same testosterone-driven male lust that drove me to the pinnacle also caused me to seek additional sexual outlets. And it was that same male lust that supported the marriage bargain whereby my wife, plus nothing, equaled myself, plus stratospheric skill, accomplishment, fame, and fortune. While drunk in lust, I took the vow, as every husband must. But I'd risen high enough to escape the fate of sexual starvation that is the true, if unspoken, norm among men. Under the circumstances, I refused to accept solely what sex my wife squeezes from an eyedropper. For being a genetic celebrity, my wife gained access to extravagant wealth and she cashed in. For being an earned celebrity, I gained access to a wide variety of sexual ecstasy and I cashed in. That's fairness, as I see it, standing resolutely within my point of view. I live in here. I look out at the world through these eyes, and this is what I see, what I feel, and what I experience. Thank you. The above perspective is masculinist, not feminist. Shocking, isn't it? Tim continues. Even in certain instances such as this, where common wisdom would have us believe that the male is simply irredeemable and could have nothing to say, a non-righteous yet valid, vulnerable male perspective may well exist if only men were enlightened enough, empowered enough, and courageous enough to speak it. For good reason, some readers will be appalled, but others will throw a fist in the air, elated at the long last to hear something from the other side of the coin. Perhaps read side by side, the sharp contrast between them will cast Tiger's actual speech in a new light. As I experience it, we're currently living inside a matricensus, a feminist gender belief system wherein it's all too easy to antipathy interpret men and masculinity as wrong, guilty, at fault, culpable, and punishable. I'll illustrate by imagining a mirror opposite scenario played out within a mirror opposite belief system. What if Ellen had grown up in a world in which it was femininity, not masculinity, that was subject to ruthless accountability without compassion? What if Ellen was obligated for honor and had that honor used against her to make her feel wrong, guilty, at fault, culpable, and punishable? In the grand scheme of things, neither Tiger nor Ellen matter much where gender issues are concerned. I don't know them. I don't know the truth about them. I'm using them as a famous example with which to explore gender truths in the big picture. Supported by various media quotes, what follows is my masculinist fantasy of what Ellen's grovel might look like. I want to say to each of you, simply and directly, I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in. I owe a special apology to a certain young man, you know who you are. You and I were equivalent in education, status, charm, resources, beauty. Equivalent in every way. That equivalence bonded us in true love and loyalty. Together, we could have built a lasting marriage. But I did not prioritize love and loyalty. I was weak. I was foolish. When presented with a ring holding a diamond as big around as my finger, I caved into temptation. I rejected you, my male equivalent, because I could do better. Exploiting my female beauty power, his male sexual vulnerability, I managed to marry up to a man of far greater wealth and status. Why should you weep for me being cheated upon? From your point of view, I got just what I deserved. For all I gained materially, and betting on a man who had already crossed the finish line and won the race without me, I sacrificed righteous entitlement to strict sexual fidelity. Yet I shamelessly cried victim. In my arrogance, I thought being female entitled me to anything and everything a man could ever give me. I divorced that man and took him for at least $100 million. In so doing, I set an example to womankind. Don't seek after well-earned respect and forgo honor and just use victim power to get what you want. Of course, I was awarded full custody of the children, so when I take our children to Sweden, I'll effectively render them fatherless. I want to apologize in advance for the self-righteous and vindictive parental alienation I will inflict. I want to apologize for being a very poor role model for women in many ways. In giving up my personal ambition to become a child psychiatrist, I helped encourage yet another generation of women to become the victims of a sexual trust fund. Through my example, I sent the message: be like me. Don't put yourself through many grueling years of hard work and study in the mere hope of fulfilling high ambition, not when you can more easily use your female wiles to simply marry hard-working, risk-taking ambition. Though there's never an excuse to hit a woman, I thought being female entitled me to break the rules and boundaries that apply to everyone. I'm sorry the women of Sweden and certain feminists acclaim me as their avenging hero. No cheated upon husband who went after his wife with a golf club would ever be regarded a hero by either sex. I'm sorry my example was used to send the message, if you're female, it's okay to resort to violence. Thank you. Hold woman under the same high-powered judgment microscope, mire her in sufficient shame, and her grovel might be as endless as his. With woman and man, it's not the good and the bad that are so out of balance, it's the accountability and the compassion. Apply accountability and compassion evenly, and the good and the bad come out even. If Tiger's grovel will be regarded as appropriate, then applying the same ruthless accountability toward her, I believe Ellen's grovel may be regarded equally appropriate. Yet, in the world as we know it, Ellen's grovel is inconceivable. Tiger's grovel was so painful to witness, not because he was so blameless, but because his grovel, i.e. man's grovel, is so omnipresent in my world, while Ellen's grovel, woman's grovel, is so non-existent. I don't get to play by different rules. The same boundaries that apply to me apply to everyone. The same boundaries that apply to everyone apply to me. Perhaps, but before we declare the subject closed, let's dare take a closer look at those rules and boundaries. Recently, it can seem as though the entire male elite might be brought down in a maelstrom of sex scandal shaming. The cover of Time asks, what makes powerful men act like pigs? I ask, how is the man bad, woman good illusion sustained? Staying within the rules and boundaries, the woman married to an elite man, reading her better homes and gardens, gets what she wants most. Financial security, leisure, luxuries, maids and nannies, plus ownership of her domestic and parental realms. But the elite man, hiding his stash of playboys, does not get what he wants most. Day after day, year after year, the elite husband must forgo relatively easy access to what is likely to be his one most obsessive fantasy, the single most gnawing, craving desire he possesses. He falters one time, one moment, and he's a pig. By contrast, those 2/3 of women who would rather have chocolate than sex require no great moral superiority to stay sexually faithful. If women find it easier to stay within the marital rules and boundaries, one of many ways the man bad, woman good illusion is sustained, it's because limiting sex to the monogamous confines of marriage has been a rule and a boundary that women profit from more and suffer less than men. It is a rule of female design, sustained by female moral authority, and it is a rule serving largely female purposes. Can elite men have nothing to say about that at all? Who can doubt that if Woods had uttered the defiant words I gave him, the repercussions would have been brutal? If he were not actually stoned to death right on the spot, at the very least, he would have been reviled, disowned, outcast, the loss of his endorsements and his children a foregone conclusion. Even so, it may have been worth it. For what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Because male truth, the truth that's missing, is what the world needs to hear. Over the long run, Tiger's defiance might have been remembered as courageous, heroic, paving the way for other men to stand strong. Instead, Tiger groveled and ended up paying the price anyway. In choosing to express nothing other than whimpering apology, Woods threw it all away. The lesson for men? Speak your truth. Male perspectives needn't be righteous to be valid. The vast span of difference between what Tiger actually said and what he might have said is representative of the vast gulf between men's perceived, internalized powerlessness to stand firm within their male perspectives as compared with the power women wield to own and to speak out of their imperfect feminist perspectives on any and all matters of gender and be rewarded, not punished for it. As always, woman is accountable for her ideological dictatorship, and man is accountable for sheepishly acquiescing to it. And that's where I'm going to end. That's the end of that section. Guys, this is a great book. It changed my life. And I'm going to give you the title of it again, Loving Men, Respecting Women, The Future of Gender Politics, written by Tim Goldich. I recommend you go out and get it. That's the end of this video. If you guys liked it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can email me at the Revolutionary Mail Podcast, or the Revolutionary Mail at gmail.com. Again, fellas, my name is Alex, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.